Awesome. All right, team. Well, welcome to another episode of the Macro Perspective. I am Coach Seamus, and this is Coach Marcos. Today, we have a great episode for y'all. And for this one, it's going to be 10 necessary items to have in your kitchen at all times. Marcos and I have created some lists, some similarities, and we made these lists basically just to give you an insight what happens with our kitchens, what we recommend for clients, and maybe give you a little bit of inspiration to try something in your kitchen. So, Marcos, I'm going to go ahead and let you take it away, and you could just share maybe a few of the top 10 or all top 10. I know you got more than that, and basically just kind of cover like what you like about it, and we'll kind of go back and forth. We'll just go right into it.
Yeah. So like I was telling you before we hit record here, I have my top 10 and then like my honorable mention of like kind of the staple pantry items, like the ones that are not probably part of like a normal weekly shopping trip. So
Yeah.
my number one right now is kind of near and dear to my heart. It's literally top sirloin. Love that it's just, it's protein packed, low fat, loaded with B vitamins, and literally 8 ounces is like 50 grams of protein. So, cooking
Yeah.
that off as like a breakfast steak or something along those lines is like my go-to kind of on a daily basis, maybe even twice a
Yeah.
day. Um, and I think I mentioned this on the first episode. It's like $8 a pound. So for 100 grams of protein, maybe give or take a couple grams, it's like again my most necessary item. What about you?
Yeah.
What's your
So my number one item I put on the list here is ground beef. Right now I'm doing like a 93.7 or like a 97.3, just depending when the store has it. I love ground beef just because it's easy to cook. It's easy to put in everything really, and I have it 2 meals, sometimes 3 meals of the day for breakfast, lunch, dinner, just because I'm doing that. And I'm almost, some people are surprised. I'm like, yeah, I'm eating about like a pound plus of meat per day. And I'm looking lean, I'm looking great, and I love it, and it fits within my macros. Um, and yeah, it's easy for me because it's just the packability of it. I can cook a lot of it and just kind of put it away for the next few days. I do like a good sirloin as well, but sometimes it's just like you got to cook that fresh sometimes, and like I don't have the ability to cook that fresh. I just like to have meat ready to go, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I guess I have the luxury of kind of cooking that off. I will take it from the package, have the little, insulator, the whatever that decescent, whatever that like packet is to kind of keep the freshness there. And
Yeah,
usually go through the smallest portion I can find at Costco, which is 3.5, 4 pounds worth. So, 3, 4 days is easy for me. But ground beef is definitely, actually not on my list. So even though yeah, I think it's good. Like I do definitely eat a ton of ground beef too. Usually,
yeah,
Trader Joe's and in the capacity of like 96.4 as well, because
yeah.
I'd rather add other fats. And speaking of fats, my number two item would be eggs. Like steak
Mhm.
near and dear, a little harder to get your hands on right now. Costco has been out basically every time I've been there. Probably need to go
Is
double
that
check.
food shortage or something going on?
Yeah, man. Bird flu still just kind of, upping. The cost of it hasn't gone up, but the supply is just like, so we're having supply chain issues with eggs right now in the state of,
Yeah,
December 20th, 2022, as we record this, right?
yeah. You're in Vegas too, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, it's tough. Yeah. I don't know. I have some eggs here, but I usually mostly do egg whites. That's not number two on my list, but like eggs and egg whites are in my top 10. That's a that's a staple. That's like every morning.
Mhm.
It's easy. You can control. Egg whites are super lean. I put some eggs in there too for that, for the yolk and for some fats, but egg whites are like I have the cartons of egg whites from Whole Foods, and I get like just 6 of them a week because it's like basically almost like one a day or like
Mm.
throughout the week, basically.
Okay. Okay. Love that. What's your number two here on your list?
So I'll go with. I'm just gonna do a continuation of meat. It's ground bison. Ground bison. I don't know, man. This last year and a half, bison became just like
It's
it's also
versatile.
kind of like yeah, it's so good. I don't know what it is, but like I love ground beef, but ground bison is just on another level. I don't know. It just has like a different taste, has a different vibe to it. And it just tastes really good for me. So I like that. I don't know the exact macros on the bison that I have. I just
Oh,
love
where
it.
do you get it?
I usually get it at Whole Foods.
It's usually like 90/10.
That's
Most,
what I think it is.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, usually about, 10, 12 grams of fat, somewhere in that range. But,
Yeah.
like, I will agree. It has like a, it has a slightly different taste. I think it's because they tend to be more pasture fed, right? More
Mhm.
grass is like the staple of their food versus a cow maybe getting some grain. So
Yeah.
definitely too. But man, there's a you don't have this out here. We have a greens and proteins. They have like a couple of franchises around the Vegas area. They make this awesome bison cheesesteak wrap. Next time you're
Oof.
in town, dude, you gotta get your hand on it. Like
We're
literally,
definitely gonna you're gonna show me off. You're gonna show me there, and I'm gonna definitely do it.
oh, for sure. When you come back next time, yeah, it's. I mean, you can get it in like a cabbage wrap, which that's where they actually kind of lie to you and like, oh, the calories is like 400. I'm like, bullshit. Like the wrap alone is probably 200 calories, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
then they're like, they see
Lying.
the asterisks on their menu. It's hilarious. But that
Yeah,
was like my first introduction to like really enjoying bison, which was 10 plus years ago. But before that, I never touched it. So
yeah, yeah, yeah.
little
What's
anecdote.
next for you? So
I
what's
got
next
a
for you on the
my next one, my staple is sourdough, man.
Mm,
It stays in the pantry basically on repeat. It's a weekly item, maybe every other week. I'll actually freeze like the organic loaves that Costco sells. Mainly do most of my bulk shopping at Costco. You get those two
yeah.
loaves at once. Family of four. My daughter loves it. Son loves it. So it's
Do they chew
versatile.
on it kinda, like, all day? As a snack sometimes?
You know what? Like my son's weird. Like as an adult, you love the crust, right? But as a kid, you love
Yeah.
the interior. It's such a weird thing.
So it's
So
so true. It's so true.
my daughter will actually snack on the outer rim because she's still kind of gumming things, doesn't have her like full set of
Yeah.
teeth yet. And then with my son, he'll only eat the interior with like a ton of butter. So
Oh.
yeah, the only reason why we buy butter is for him essentially.
Yeah, no, look, I have sourdough. It wasn't in my list. I don't know why, but I this week there was just a lot in the house, so I just had one on like eggs with toast. That was my toast basically.
I mean, and again, too, like recreation of my like everyday breakfast meal, generally 6 to 8 ounces of steak, maybe two upwards of 4 eggs, depending on my mood, and two slices of sourdough. But like I can get that anywhere. So it's like my day
Yeah,
always feels right, even with some of the travel that's happened here in the last year. Like
yeah.
I just seek that. The thing I have to remember though is telling people to make sure the toast is dry. Because if you're on the East Coast, dude, they just slather that fake butter on it, that margarine.
I know what you're talking about, dude. That thing's wild. Yeah, it's too much.
So, yeah.
It's too much. Well, mine on the next on my list is a carb like yours. Dude, this is such a staple between me and my lady, sweet potato. I'll be honest, we do it in multiple ways. We could do it with just a sweet potato off the rack and you can cut it yourself and stuff like that. But I'll be honest with you, I like simplicity. I get the frozen sweet potato fries from Alexa or kind of the Whole Foods uh,
Mhm.
brand, and it's just I put it in the air fryer, and that's the best way for me to have sweet potato because it's all cut. It's only like $5 for like 2 days, 2 to 3 days worth of like sweet potato. I'm like, this is great. This is great. So I just air fry it, and it's perfect. I don't put any other oils because they have a little bit of oil on it already. But yeah, sweet potato has been a staple in my diet. I'll be honest with you, probably since like high school. So
Yeah, your wrestling roots are showing, dude. Your wrestling roots are
I
showing.
know.
We're I didn't put, again, like our lists are very varied and but also very similar. Like, my 10 necessary things are maybe just more current. I do have sweet potatoes in my pantry, but like I bought them and no one else really likes them, so like
Yeah,
it's, I won't consider it part of like my staples. Um,
yeah,
and again, too, like this is, 10 necessary items to have in your kitchen at all times. It's like, obviously the title may be a little misleading. This is so individualized. Like if you think about the 10 things you would want to have around, keep them around. And also,
yeah.
the first two items for both of us were, protein heavy, right? I mean, even
They
though
were. Yeah,
you know, eggs for me could be like, yeah, you can just take the yolk out versus eating it. So my next one
yeah,
again, very protein packed Greek yogurt and
yeah.
non-fat Greek yogurt more specifically. Basically a cup of that is going to yield what 18, 20 grams of protein. So I'll usually do
Mhm.
like a cup and a half at a time, get 25. And I'll usually actually have an isolate protein around, so that's my 4 and 6. So I'm sorry, but like that combo together is like adding a
That's the best combo.
oh yeah, and if you have a couple different protein flavors, you can kind of make like a
Like an
almost like
ice
a
cream.
yeah, pudding, ice
Ice
cream.
ice
Yeah.
cream, yeah. I do that. I do that. I'll do the Greek yogurt, the faye, and I'll do like an ice cream flavor, like a vanilla, chocolate, or like a cookies and cream, and that's the best. That's the
Oh,
best
so
for me.
you throw some Oreos in there on the low.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I've done it. I've done it. It's a good snack. Let's see. For me, I would say the next one is a spring mix. I do like just some greens in a spring mix in my plan. I do have more vegetables, but I just put the spring mix down because I get that on a weekly basis. I get the big box, and whenever I cook my ground beef or my ground bison, I'll just toss the whole box on top and just kind of have it sauteed in there. And that way I get my vegetables in with my meat. Plus, we have a little we have a little guinea pig, and she rips through spring mix like crazy. So I have to get it for her as well. So spring mix is my next one. Um, and yeah, I still agree though. The Greek yogurt and isolate protein, that's a win one.
Yeah, so we'll call that my 5. I'll move that protein. I mean, I think like everybody should probably have an isolate protein. That one might be a necessary item in today's
Yeah.
world, right? Like, and again, very basic flavors. Vanilla, chocolate, strawberry. Currently using First Form. My wife likes the natural products there, and I do feel like the taste of their product might actually be a little superior to True Nutrition, which I've used in the past. So,
Yeah.
also definitely like the company mission as well. So, um,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. So that's my 5 protein isolate.
I like it. My 5 I will do is so kombucha, I'll have 1 a day. Um, I know it's kind of, it's an odd one. I like it. I'll just get the kombucha from, like, Target or, like, Whole Foods. The brand is called GT's, brand, and they have different flavors. I like them all. I usually like to get the ginger or the ginger aid,
Mhm.
the pineapple. I like to just to get the ones, and what I like about the kombucha, really for me, I'm gonna say something here that most people are like, "That's kinda weird," but whenever I drink kombucha, I've told this to 1,000 people, is like, I feel really happy. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is about the kombucha, but, like, it's not the alcohol.
I
It's
was
not
gonna
the
say,
alcohol.
are you low key getting the black label GTs over there?
The Black Label. No, no, unfortunately not, but it's I don't know what it is, but I think, like, my gut really likes kombucha. It really likes the feeling it gets, and the prebiotics and just kind of, like, I guess the gut just it feels good with it, and I like, everything else just kinda moves along really nicely, so I love the kombucha.
Yeah, I mean, the gut-brain axis is a real thing, right? There's tons of evidence to support, like, a healthy gut leads to a healthy brain, right? And so maybe there is something there that's like synergistic for you, right?
Mhm.
Which I haven't had in a hot minute, but like everything on your, it's funny. I look at your list. I'm like, yeah, I need to like get back to eating a couple of those things. I just, you know what I mean? And it's just like we
Yeah.
get into rhythms, and you're like, this day I'm eating this day I'm eating that. Um,
Just a note about that, on average, the average American will only eat about like by the time they're 25 for the rest of their life, they'll only eat about 6 to 11 variations of their meals.
Right? "Oh, is that enough
Like,
variety in my meal, coach? What should I do?" It's like, "Well, you weren't gonna do
yeah,
it anyway."
yeah, yeah, variety is like with nutrition, like if you don't have like 6 to 11 variations on meals is actually not that big. There's a book, Sean Stevenson wrote it called Eat Smarter. He wrote that he didn't come up with the statistic. He got it from like studies and stuff. And the problem with like only having 6 to 11 variations upon your food is your gut microbiome is just not that diverse.
Mhm.
Because let's say I'm from Southern California, but if I go to Europe and I eat European food, it's like I've never had that. My stomach is gonna have a field day with me. So it's very important that like, yeah, like what we were saying before, like looking at your list, looking at my list, it's like, oh man, there's more. There's more to do.
Yeah, and again, like, this is I feel like these have both kinda stemmed from a pretty similar idea, right? Like, these are very vertical diet-esque type of foods to keep around.
Yeah, stand efforting, yeah.
Yeah, like, this is very much aligned, maybe with some, like, little nuances. I mean, I feel like garlic would be a no-no on that initial, like, 3.0 list. I think he's changed his mind about a few things in his newest version of it, the diet, but again,
Yeah.
that I think the biggest thing here is, like, you're gonna have to, like, always interpret somebody's literature to what suits your palate, you know? Um,
Mhm.
like literally, if I don't typically have like garlic or some alums in my meal, I literally get sad. Like I'm like, I love garlic, I love onion. My wife can do without, and I literally can't typically cook with it. So you don't see onion on
Yeah.
my list here. But um,
Yeah.
my number 6 though would be just berries, man. Berries in general. Tons. It's like basically the fiber source, right? If there's ever a fruit to have laying around, would definitely be raspberry, blueberry, strawberry, blackberries. Right now, we're at the store, so I snag some because they're really high in fiber. And you know, you get the tart, the sour, the sweet, and you throw that in with the two above it, the Greek yogurt and protein. You have yourself a nice little snack. Literally, what I had
They
right
really
before
do.
this.
Let me ask you, I have something about berries. I don't know what it is, but, like, I'll have blueberries, like, I'll do, like, a little small little bowl of it,
Mhm.
like, let's say nighttime or with, like, the Greek yogurt. I don't know what it is about berries, but, like, as soon as I have, like, a small bowl of it, like, I feel like all my cravings are gone. I don't know if it's the tartness or, like, the taste, I don't know, but, like, I'll have just a little bit of blueberries, I'm like, "Oh, okay, I'm not really feeling it anymore." Have you ever had that?
I mean, I might classify myself as a binge eater, so I
Yeah.
never truly get a satisfied signal of like the amount of food I'm eating. It's a very weird thing, but um, you know, berries do tend to they add a ton of volume. So like, you know, one of our other colleagues, Bonnie, would talk about like sport eating, you know, and she's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, ew, gross." Like I don't mix my sport eating foods with my like, you know, my healthy foods. But for me, like one of my biggest things that I love is like a blueberry muffin. And she's like, "No, I don't mix the two, you know?" So
Yeah.
I really feel like to me, berries are just so versatile, man. Like um, you know, sometimes in different phases of carb cycling, I used that plus like dark chocolate and nuts. And then like you're right, it kind of does create more of a satisfied feel. Maybe it's the water content in it,
Maybe, yeah.
you know. But if I eat just like chocolate and nuts, like I'll smash a whole bag, you know. But like having the berries does add some satisfaction.
I've done the same thing. I've done, like, a fruit bowl I've done a fruit nut dark chocolate mix. I've done the same thing as just, like, a little snack just to and that kinda helps out, but I would go for the whole thing as well. 6 for me is gonna be garlic, lots of garlic, we were just talking about that. I don't know, I've always loved garlic. I just ran out of garlic today. I kinda had to throw it on my ground beef in the can or, in the package it had, and now it's done, so I gotta go get more at the store, but I don't know, I just love the taste of garlic. It's
Are you
just
typically getting it like fresh? Or are you getting it already minced or what? Like does
it's
do you
already minced. I'll do mince just kind of in like the in its oil in its own liquid and stuff. Usually I like that. I'll do it fresh, but I just do like it minced, so it just makes it a little easier for me.
Mhm.
But I'll definitely, I definitely enjoy a lot of garlic. I don't know what it is about garlic. I really enjoy it, and there's a lot of health benefits. I can't really name them off the top of my head, but if a vampire came by, I guess I won't be turning into a vampire today. So
Man, yeah, garlic. I mean, it's like I think it's just a staple, you know, starter for most cuisines too. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like that smell of like, you know, like that fresh garlic, like kind of permeating through the air. You walk through your home. It's like a very familiar smell to a lot of people that are in a very like ethnic background, such as you and myself, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I was doing that yesterday, making a chicken tortilla soup, and it like smelled up the whole house, and I was like, this takes me back to my childhood. Like, there's just something so
yeah,
comforting about that smell. So yeah.
yeah.
Um, also, fun fact is another little place in town. There's a Jay Cutler bowl, right? Because obviously, like
Ooh,
you know, and Jay Cutler's like thing would be like literally like teriyaki chicken, but like instead of like vegetables, it's like loaded with garlic and like green onions as the vegetables.
oh.
Just like
Yes. Okay, we're getting that too. Once we're out in Vegas, we'll get that one out too.
yeah, when you come back, we'll get that. So my
Yeah.
next one's gonna be kind of peculiar. My number 7, and there's a backstory to it too, like everything today. So sardines is my number 7. High protein, high, positive, healthy fats, polyunsaturated fatty acids, EPA, DHA, and mainly I brought it into the pantry recently because when my daughter was kind of, getting into more solids, we, we need to make sure her calories are getting high enough, right, to like substantiate weight gain and all that stuff. But there was a formula shortage. Like there was a shortage with everything. So I was like, well, let me see if she'll eat it. Bought a pack,
Yeah.
just put it in front of her, and dude smashes it. Literally, she comes
Yeah.
home. That's like what she wants for her dinner is like usually half a
Yeah.
can to a full can, depending on her appetite. And so like brain health, positive baby food, literally that can adds basically all the essential fats that she needs for that. And yeah, I mean, when I had to move to giving her oat milk versus milk for that transition phase from formula, that's what we opted to do because as I looked through what was actually inside of like a formulation for formula, they're adding and they're advertising these EPA and DHA numbers, and I was like, if she literally would just eat one of them per day, she's going to get way more benefit in terms of like the quantity of those nutrients. And
Yeah.
that's where I was like, all right, well, we'll see what happens. I literally tried salmon, I tried tuna, like, but the thing that she liked most was sardines, which is like the healthiest one.
Sardine Sardines are great. I remember growing up in the Philippines, sardines was like a staple in the family household, and I think we got them fresh too, or like just kind of in the cans because that's where some of the can storing facilities were. And like I don't know, but one of the things I remember, I don't know if you remember Tim Ferriss. He would talk about sardines a lot, and when he was on keto, he
Mhm,
would he would start his days with sardines or something like this, and it was just like it would keep him pretty like even keeled on energy.
mhm,
And it was interesting with the sardines. What I did, I took his tip because I had a dog, I had a husky. He was having some skin issues sometimes just due to the summer or the heat. I would just have the sardine, take off the can, have the sardines, but then put the oil in his food, and his skin was like great. Skin was
mm.
great, so it was a good one.
Yeah, yeah. The essential fats from that. Ironic, ironically enough, my parents' dog actually is like having an issue with his like lipase production. Is like
Mm,
it's not what they called it, but it's essentially what it is. Like if he eats something that's too high in fat, he can't break it down. So if he's on my dog or my parents' dog is on like a high carb diet, like literally
interesting.
so inverse of what a normal dog's diet would be. And again,
Yeah.
like it's we know the benefits of like the coat and their skin and all that from the essential fats, but my that dog he may not live a long life. Let's put it that way. There's
I
no
hear you. Yeah, so I hear you. Just enjoy the carbs. Well, my 7 is egg whites, but I'm gonna skip that because we already talked about egg whites. But I know we talked about protein as well, but I'm gonna put 8 as pre-made protein powders, or protein drinks. Like the Fairlife or the Quest or the Premier proteins are the best for me. They're like 30 grams in protein. They're in a little box carton. You can get like a 30 pack at Target, Costco, Whole Foods has them. You just get a bunch of packs. I like the pre-made protein drinks just because, like, first off, yeah, they're pre-made. Second, you can keep them in any kind of environment, really. Like, they don't need to be refrigerated.
Yep.
So sometimes I'll keep it in the car just because, like, if I'm caught, with no snack, right? Like, I'm gonna go eat something random. No, I have the protein there ready to go. It's a good go-to. You can keep it in the office. So I recommend this actually a lot for myself and for clients. So I'm gonna go straight to 8 for that one, just because I think it just made sense for me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'll second that. Sometimes you just they have like the right thickness to it. It's like hard to capture like that milkshakey kind of texture that you can't get with
Yeah.
just water and your isolate powder. So they add those extra little emulsifiers that like sunflower or whatever. Nothing crazy, but
Yeah.
it's literally just it's thicker. And I actually was thinking about this the other day. I was like, why don't I take a Fairlife shake and like try to make ice cream out of it? Like literally just like do what we did in like elementary school where you put the salt and the ice and like see if it would turn
Dude, I
into.
think you could really do it. I think you would really do it.
So I was like, why have I not tried that yet? Because literally would just be like a 30 gram of protein like ice cream scoop. Like,
I think your kids could do it really well, probably. I bet you they could figure it out.
yeah, I'll do that as a science project. We're gonna test if people can tell the difference of their ice cream for.
Yeah, get a chocolate ice cream, you gotta get the chocolate Fairlife and see which one's better.
I know. I wish our Costco would have the vanilla personally, but
Yeah,
maybe one of these days I'll have to change it up a little. So my
yeah,
next one, my number 8 is cranberry juice. So this
it's a
one
good one.
is mainly because don't really use a lot of stuff that has iodine in it, and it is an essential nutrient, and or essential mineral that the body needs. And literally, like a little goes a long way. Like 2 ounces, I'll just put it into like my pre-workout kind of concoction to help with that. It gives like 3 carbs or whatever too. And I have found that like my energy and mood with the inclusion of that and that like kind of pre-workout routine has been really phenomenal. So, just trying to
Yeah.
balance out those micronutrients.
I kind of stepped away from the cranberry juice. That was a staple for about like a year to 2 years when I was on Stan Efferding's vertical diet. That was like such a big deal. I thank you for reminding me. I got to get back on putting that into my diet because that was something that was like a staple in my thing. So got to
Yeah,
get
do
that.
you
Yeah,
eat like seaweed or nori at all or anything like that typically?
seaweed or
Yeah, nori, which I mean like that's like the topping with the furikake kind of stuff, right?
only when we do like sushi, and that's probably like once a month to once every few weeks. So
Yeah.
not often. So yeah, definitely need to do that more.
Maybe you got it in your multi.
Yeah, I probably do. My number 9, so any Quest chips, is a good one. I
Seeing
Marcos
a theme
knows this.
I'm seeing a theme here. Oh, you
Yeah.
ordered this for the office, aren't you?
Yeah. Like, Marcos knows, like, I just, like first off, at our work, if you've ever visited a Cenegenics office, every Cenegenics office is pretty much outfitted with, like, Quest chips, as their snacks 'cause it's a protein snack. Um, there's a bunch of bags, and I would probably if accounting didn't have a problem with my dark hole of a stomach, probably go through like a ton a day, but I would have like a chip or two,
Mm.
um, per day. I'm pretty good when I'm at home, maybe once. So yeah, I like the Quest chips. That's just another way to get protein. Plus, I like the chips just because like it just puts a healthy spin on like nachos, or it puts like a healthy spin on like your Doritos. Like they have like the the taco type of flavor, the chili limon type of flavor, like all these flavors that like you grew up as a kid eating Doritos. It's like, man, why not just why not just make that healthy? Why not just make that healthy? So I love
Yeah,
the chips.
I mean, if you're gonna be I mean, it's kinda hard to be overdoing it in a protein sense with, modernized food, so I would have to agree that most people and again too, like, it's almost cost prohibitive, right? Like, 1 bag of these is, like, $3, so, like, you kind of rethink of, like, just delving into it and being like, "I'm gonna go smash this," like, bag, or if you buy the big bag, it's like $10. You're like, "No, this is like I gotta kinda, like, find that sweet spot because it's a good snack, it's a good crunch, but I can quickly, break the piggy bank." So, I
Yeah.
do I like them too, but I kinda stay away from them because like, $3 a bag, I'm like, like, it's like
Well, luckily work provides. Luckily work provides.
only if I'm at another center,
They're hearing this. They're like, all right, that's it. Cut his account.
like, shoot,
cut his,
oh, shoot, yeah, she was over there in Beverly Hills, we're gonna have to put a
cut,
stop to that, they're gonna hear
yeah,
this.
cut his budget. Cut his budget.
Gonna come after so my number 9, is a piece of fruit near and dear to my heart. Oranges, man. Love me some oranges. They again, like most of the things that I have around are things my kids will eat as well. So, um,
Yeah.
it's like again, easy. Obviously, there's like the process of having to peel it. So I'm like, do I even want to go through that process right now? Like have that like quick little talk in my head. It's like, yeah, it's worth it. Um, and again, just trying to get some like natural sources of vitamin C along with the berries. If it wasn't for those things, I don't know where else I would get it. Oftentimes too,
Yeah.
I'll do like peppers and such, but like oranges are probably it's easier probably to be like I'll have an orange a day, as my fruit of choice versus really anything else.
Yeah. I like that. I like that. Well, for my number 10, I'm just gonna go straight to the end for me because this I have a few more, but I'll just go for 10. It's gonna be olive oil. Extra virgin olive oil is this is just what I think I've been cooking with extra virgin olive oil since I can remember, really, just because my parents have always had it. It's always been there. We make it easy by every time we get the bottle. There's the glass ones from Costco, the
Hmm.
dark glass ones, and it like has a bottle, but you can put like a topper on it that just like you can just kind of sink, whisk into the. So that's always been there. Um, yeah, I cook that with everything. I don't know. Olive oil has just been a great one. So I don't know. I got nothing else to say about it, but it's just it's there every day for me.
Yeah, I think the only thing with olive oil that I was always, like, worried about was the smoke point, and then, realizing that, like, as if I'm not baking with it, like, you're not really getting your pan up to 350 plus degrees. Like, it's so hard. So I would stay away from it. I was like, "Oh, the oxidation rate of it." So I would always, I was, like, seldom using it, but then I was like, "Well, I'm maybe missing out on some healthy fats and, some things that are, you know, can, like, kinda look at the healthy user bias here of, like, the Mediterranean, diet as a whole, right? I'm like, "Oh,
Yeah.
this is like," and again, I really do feel like I've never it's weird. As a kid, I didn't like olives because they were very salty and they're very, like, an overpowering flavor on anything.
Yeah.
Yet
They
it
really are. They really are.
Yeah, yet it's like a staple in some Puerto Rican foods as well as, Italian cuisine. And I'm like, "Fuck, like, this would be great without the olives." But now as an adult, I'm like, "You know what? Actually sounds good right now as a salty olive." I'm like, "What the hell is happening?" Um,
Your taste buds change. I remember the same thing for me. I used to dislike Brussels sprouts, but I would kill for Brussels sprouts. They're so good. I don't know what it was. I like love them for some reason.
Fun fact, did you know that the Brussels sprout, a cauliflower, and a broccoli are all technically just different parts of the same plant?
And I didn't know that. I did
Yeah,
not know that. I gotta look this up.
look at I mean, don't quote me on it, I heard it in another podcast, so,
Well, I'll have
yeah,
to I'll have to see.
I feel like it's just different parts of the species of plant, so,
Yeah.
my number 10 here, I'm surprised this wasn't on your list, but rice, you know, like, rice in again, like, get a 25-pound bag and it lasts for God knows how long. I don't use a ton of it um, all the time. But again, it's just easy to have it like cooked off. I'll do a 2 to 1
Yeah.
ratio of the cook. So I'll do, I use weight because it just kind of makes an even, I know what I'm getting into, in terms of my rice every time. It's like the same yield. So I'll do usually 1,000 grams of rice and 2,000 grams of water, throw in some Himalayan pink salt and just cook a huge batch of it and store it. It's ready to go whenever we need
I'm
it.
gonna teach you the Filipino way. I'm
You're
teach
gonna
you
use
the
the finger
Filipino way.
trick, right up to
Yeah,
the
the
knuckle.
finger trick.
Yeah,
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 so for y'all, I grew up in the Philippines. Yeah, white rice wasn't in my top 10, which is probably blasphemy right now. My Filipino ancestry is like, "What?" Just because I think, like, because you had it, so I was gonna talk about it
yeah,
anyways.
yeah, yeah.
But the finger trick for y'all that growing up, so in Asia, in Asian countries, we actually use the ring finger and you go up to the line right here. So what you would do is whatever amount of rice you put in the cup, in the rice cooker, it doesn't matter. You rinse it off. So you want to rinse off the rice twice to clean it out, right? Clean it up. Boom. The third cup set of water, you're gonna go up. You're gonna put your finger down to the rice right there, and then you bring the water up to about here. That's it.
Yep.
And then you put in the white, and you put in the rice cooker, and there you go. Within like 30 minutes, you got a batch of rice. I do cook rice on a weekly basis, so I don't know why it was.
And you're trying to be unique here, give some other options that weren't on my list. Again, um, yeah, that's that. What's crazy though, and I don't know if you do this in like Filipino culture. It would be frying the rice dry with the seasoning and like uh, whatever like the mother's seasoning might be for the cuisine, and
Yeah,
then boiling it over like so like in our Puerto Rican style, he'll actually
yeah.
fry the rice as it's like in its kerneled state. I don't know really what the dry rice,
The
right?
hard state, yeah, the dry rice, yeah,
Throw the oil, you'll throw in like sofrito, right? And boom,
yeah.
saute it all together, and then you do the same finger trick, and you have like Puerto Rican rice. Like that's how you make it. You like literally fry the rice backwards. It's the funniest
That's
thing.
interesting because usually what we would do is, let's say the rice is in the fridge for a few days. What
Yeah.
we'll do is we'll do fried rice, Filipino style. Honestly, like the Filipino style is just like a play on like Chinese fried rice or like
Mm,
any Asian fried rice. But so what we'll do is we'll have it on sauteing it in the pan, put a few eggs in there, like 2 or 3 eggs, and
mm,
then we would put other sausages, we put other things in there, and just let it kind of cook, and then spin all that together, and then there you go. You got some fried rice, and yeah,
yeah.
we do it different. We don't we it's like if the rice has been in the fridge for a few days, kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's the I don't know. That's how I grew up watching
Yeah.
grandparents, parents kind of cook it as like the staple. And then, now that we're like kind of just a little more conscious of like the added calories when we don't need them, we'll actually just use that sofrito, which is kind of like a Puerto Rican pesto, is the best way of describing it.
I
So
wanna try that. I wanna try that out. Reverse the
next
oven
time
way.
you're
That
here,
sounds
I'll
so
make
cool.
some authentic shit.
Alright.
Um,
Yeah. I'm down.
So the healthier option is kind of doing the same trick, right? You put the finger with the rice in, and then you throw in. We'll make them into like cubes. So you just like kind of
Mhm.
freeze them off, so you can just kind of add them in as like your flavor enhancer. Throw like 2 or 3 of them in there with like the steamed rice essentially. So like that's our way of kind of like cutting out like 2 tablespoons of oil, and again you're not making a ton of that for to have like leftovers all the time either. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
why rice is just so versatile. And again, like looks like from the top of your list that you're probably using that again as part of like your mashes, right? Like again, you just
Yeah, the vertical diet mashes. That's like the monster ma yeah, I would say, like, it's the base. Like, I'll put the beef down, put the rice on top, and then,
yeah.
vegetables and just kind of shake it all up together, and it's perfect.
So common theme here that I noticed is we're very protein heavy in terms of all of our food selections, right?
Yeah.
Having diversity, things that we like as our staple proteins, right? Um, a little bit more of like carb over fat, right? Because I mean, there really isn't a ton of things that have fats. For me, it's the egg, the sardine, and that's really it. Everything else is like very lean. For you, it might be the bison and the olive oil, right? Like so
Yeah.
again, when it comes to like items you should probably have in your pantry would be, more of a whole food basis, things that would probably spoil and, or in your kitchen, not pantry rather, um, things that are very lean protein cuts, right? And I think
Yeah.
like, um, if we were to give some honorable mention stuff, right? What else would you consider, right? So obviously we had like our 10 necessary items of food, right?
Yeah.
Do you I have a couple other things I added to my list because I was in that processing mode. Like condiments or supplements, right?
Yeah, yeah. I would say that's a good one just because so for me, condiments and seasonings, I let's just talk about them both, actually, if
Yeah.
that's cool. Like condiments and seasonings, so I use Walden Farms. So they have these at Whole Foods. I don't know if you know Walden Farms, but it's just like a 0 calorie one.
Mm,
So I use that on everything. So they this company has 0 calorie. It's probably not 0 calorie to the max, but it's low calorie. Let's just say that, right?
yeah, less than
Um,
per whatever.
yeah. So what I do is with Walden Farms, they have a syrup, and with the syrups, they have different flavors. So sometimes I'll make protein pancakes, and or I put that on like my oatmeal or something like that, and that could be like a a flavor enhancer, but it's like caramel syrup or chocolate syrup, but it's like low calorie, 0 calorie. It's got like barbecue ranch. It's got dressings, so I like those. So I just go with 0 calorie. Now, for everyone's like, well, man,
What
this
are your
guy's just all about.
what's your stance on like stevia and Splenda, man? Like what are your viewpoints there? Because if you're using a 0 calorie item,
They're using like a stevia Splenda, yeah, kind of
they're
thing.
using something that
My
might be in it an NNS, right?
Yeah, my stance on it is just kind of just I partake from the experts in the field, with some with a little bit of a like, take it for what it is, kind of the in terms of what it does to the body, there isn't significant evidence that it's really doing much. I defer to like Lane Norton for this kind of stuff, and he explains it, and I look at the research. Now there is kind of like been some studies maybe talking about like the gut microbiome shifting and stuff like that. So I don't, per se like dab it on like crazy all the time, like I'm using seasonings as well, like a salt and pepper or like a garlic powder or like an onion powder, something like that. But if I were to have a sauce and seasoning, I do like the 0 calorie stuff. I do stay like on that 0 calorie lean side because I can go pretty crazy on my sauces. So I don't want to be caught with like an extra 500 calories, like not knowing I just did that, so
Yeah, and I've been really digging the Kinder seasonings because they have such a multitude of like pre-done shit that you can kind of doctor up into other things.
yeah.
Costco has that. Um, and they have literally, I think like 7 or 8 different ones. They have like a hickory barbecue rub. They got like
Oof.
a taco seasoning. Again, like I just like whatever. Like it's like $4 here. It's like a massive container, and I'm like, this one
Yeah.
was good. And you kind of cycle through them as they bring different blends out. So I'll usually use those. And my big one is like I actually am like a sucker for balsamic vinegar. Like that
Oof.
to me
Yeah.
is just something that literally on a salad or honestly on my pizza nights with the wife, like that is like my go-to. I'll literally throw sriracha and balsamic vinegar and like crushed chili peppers on my pizza literally just elevates it. Like if I eat it plain, I'm like, it's missing the heat, it's missing that like acid. So I'll usually have, you know, usually a hot sauce or two kind of laying around.
Yeah.
Um, but generally it's like a sriracha kind of base. Always have like the Costco sized jug of vinegar just laying around. And then when it comes to like other sauces, right? I'm not, I've tried like the huge ones. And if I'm traveling, I'll like seek it out, like, cause I can make like that microwave meal, like in the hotel. Um,
Yeah. 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 I know what you mean.
yeah. But the ones that I've actually really liked recently are Cleveland Kitchen. So Cleveland Kitchen uses like fermented like bases to
Ooh,
help.
I like that. Where do
Yeah.
they
It's
get those? Where do we get
Whole
those?
Foods. I got it at Whole Foods,
Okay.
man.
I'm
So
gonna go
check out
get some of this.
where they have like their
Cleveland.
sauerkrauts and stuff. They have
Yeah.
they have a ton of different flavors. They have like a Caesar. They have a cream
Ooh,
Italian one. And again, like there's still low calorie. They're like 40, 50. They're pretty low fat
that's
overall,
perfect.
but it's like it adds like I'm like, oh, like I feel a little healthier. It's like, oh, I got the gut health like mixed in with
The
like my
fermented. Yeah.
dude, the garlic Italian, some like literally some like lemon pepper shrimp thrown in there with like a little bit of like cabbage, and Sprouts has these like tortillas that are they're like 80 calories per, so you're making like like a hand size one. um Money, literally, it's like it
Okay.
elevates the whole dish. So I'm sure we could literally
Alright.
devote like in a whole episode talking about
Yeah,
like
we can talk about this probably on the
but
next one. Alright, I'm definitely gonna go to Whole Foods real quick. I do have to go shopping, later this week, so I'm gonna go try to get some of these fermented sauces. Ooh, this sounds I like that. Thank you for that. Dang, that's good.
yeah, that's my little trick. Put it this way: somebody in the Vegas office was like, "That looks really good." And I was like, "Yeah, it's just like a Caesar salad with like this low calorie Caesar dressing that's like fermented." She tried it. She's like, damn, like that is actually really good. She messaged me. She's like, where did I get that again? I sent it to her. And she's like, and I've, of course, we're always observing people eat. So she's like, man, like that's like an easy way for me to maybe eliminate, like as she's like becoming more educated with her food.
Yeah.
Like that's an easy way for her to eliminate probably 200 calories, and that might be enough
Yeah.
deficit to like really see continued progress for her without ever, with still enjoying her food. Right.
Yeah, and it's fermented, really helps the gut. Oh man, that's awesome.
Yeah. So
Let's talk about supplements. What supplements do you think are staples? I could talk about mine. Talk about
yeah,
some supplements that are
yeah, you go
staples for
first.
me. Other than like the proteins and things like that, supplements that I take on a daily basis without going deep into my kind of blood work and just kind of what I'm doing. I definitely I've always done like a fish oil for sure. I
Okay.
think the what is it the 6 to 3 ratio.
Hmm.
We want to have that there, and then I do have a multi. I use the Mida multi from our work, but I've also used other multis as well.
Hmm.
And then with that supplement, I do have a greens. Just typically just because I like to have drink something in the morning that's like a
Which
greens
greens?
drink. Prestige bulletproof greens or the power greens that they have.
Okay.
Prestige Labs. That's just a company I work with outside. Um, and then what else? I mean, I did take the Synergenic greens. Actually, our greens was actually really good too. Actually, really good too.
I
Uh,
was
and
I think
yeah,
that one try it for the flavor, but I look at it and I'm like, I mean, with the 13 things that are in there, I'm like, well, like, isn't the idea of a green maybe a little bit more about like gut diversity, and like there's maybe missing some of those grasses and whatnot. So,
yeah.
me personally, my greens, I like Cyto greens. Actually, they have a chocolate one that when I first
Mm,
tasted it, I was like, dude, like I would never imagine a chocolate greens tasting as good as it did. But I mainly use their berry flavor these days just because, again, change of flavor. Chocolate gets played out with everything else. It's
it does. It does. Yeah.
um, but I've been meaning to try the Senegenics ones because, and again too, like the price point on it. I'm still trying to find budget friendly things for everybody. I actually have another client that I meant to. I can share this with you for you.
Yeah, yeah, sure. While you're pulling that up, I'll kind of talk about more supplements that I take. So yeah, I do the fish oil, the greens. I definitely do like a D3. That's something that's important as well.
How
And
many
then in my
I use today?
yeah, and then my nighttime, I definitely do a magnesium, either an L-threonate or orotate. Then I do a curcumin and turmeric. That one, there's some data on it suggesting like, careful with that overall, just because like that might bind to some testosterone receptors and you
Hmm.
may, people are like, oh, fighting inflammation, but then you might like limit your testosterone. I don't know the in depth of that one, but I just do it just because I have psoriasis and I just try to see about inflammation, bringing those markers down because I do have some systemic inflammation just due to that part of my life.
Yep.
And then I do sometimes would take like a sleep one just in case here and there. I don't always do melatonin or I always do like a sleep thing just once in a while, just depending on the season, just depending if I need it. But that's my go-to. I have some other in-depth like I have like a whole stack that I work with a physician here at Synergenics just to get me on, but I would say those are some of my staples for sure if I wasn't like looking at my blood work so in-depthly.
Yeah. So for me, vitamin D3 with K2,
Yeah,
5,000
that's the one.
D,
Mhm.
90 micrograms of the K2 that's worked in there as well. And again, the reason for that is just better absorption, with the vitamin K being worked into that formula.
And then
Um,
you don't get atherosclerosis or like you don't get your
yeah, yeah,
blood yeah.
yeah. I think it's it when they were like, hey, bone density and putting calcium into the bones, they thought taking calcium would do it, and they actually found that vitamin D with K2 is more effective and efficacious.
100%. Yeah.
So um that's kind of the reason that I've learned about that, and so I'm like, oh, that makes sense. All right, cool. That's what the literature says. Let's use it. I will
Yeah.
take a curcumin as well. I'll take the Curcumax product that we have at work as well.
Mhm.
Really like that one. Again, because it has there's different patented forms of things, and I think be it as it may, right? Patents on particular um, uh, supplement products, right? Sometimes they can be froofy, right? Like the proprietary blends or the patent, like of like this patented form of creatine is supposed to do X, Y, and Z things better.
It's the
Not
same
always,
thing.
not always the case, but there are
Yeah.
double-blind placebos, and like they're looking at those datas, um, like from fish oil, for example. There's a way to kind of purify it even more to get a better benefit without taking 6 times the amount, right? So as we're constantly on the cutting edge of that with supplements, that's what people are innovating for. So um, I'll do that curcumin versus just like one you would get from Costco.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
and even if you were looking for one that was outside, you'd be looking at curcumin with bioprene, right? The black pepper extract to help with the absorption,
Mhm.
right?
Yep.
Then from there, I will take magnesium glycinate just because it's cheap, and it's probably like the best one that I've had for sleep purposes.
Yeah.
DHEA about 25 milligrams per night.
Yep.
That's going to help with hormonal health, brain function, things like that. Granted, it
People
is some,
forget. Yeah,
it's a bit,
DHA is like a small amount, but it helps with those, sex hormones, it's testosterone. So just
yeah, and
that's
it
a
is
great one too.
technically a banned substance, so you wouldn't want to take that if you are competing in something. The days of competition are past me, and I acknowledge that, and I would rather focus on longevity and performing well in the
Isn't
gym.
that funny? Like a thing that you can get at like Target or Amazon is like, oh, that's
It's still,
hey,
yeah, yeah,
you're banned, So it's like technically, if we're taking supplements, technically we're not natural athletes anymore, huh?
right.
Not natty.
Well, you also know that a lot of the supplement companies got in trouble because they were making DHEA derivatives that were, basically very strong protagonists for having androgenic effects, right? And
Yeah, no, that was one of those things. Yep.
yeah, so now a lot of the things that actually like are part of, a supplement company's platform is all kind of derivatives of like focused and nootropics or nootropics, however you want to pronounce that. So
Yeah.
they've definitely changed how that is, and it's a little more regulated. So I will use that one. Is there anything else I'm missing? Oh, L-theanine to help with the calming effect of going to bed, and
Sound regulation, love it.
And then I'll actually use a little ashwagandha before bed, about like 500 milligrams, which kind of goes counter to maybe when people would want to use it, but I find I get really good sleep doing that. Some
Well,
people,
it's a what is the word for it? It's a it goes with what is the word? I'm blanking on it, but ashwagandha is it goes both ways is kind of the word for it. It's I forgot the exact word, but you can use it for
in
what it
yeah, for most cases, it's usually like kind of first thing in the morning to kind of regulate
Mhm.
energy and focus and the like, similar to like what a cordyceps would do, right? But like
Yeah,
for
yeah.
me, like I just was like, why not just tinker with it? I like taking all my pills at once, and I take it at night. It like has a calming effect for me. So I'm like,
Yeah.
calming sleep. I used to use CBD, but I have just, it's just expensive. So it's just hard to want to, shell out, a dollar a day in a supplement sometimes, especially if it's me and my
Exactly, yeah.
so
Yeah.
um, the L-theanine much cheaper and seems to be just as or almost equally as effective as like a CBD product, but
Yeah.
would also be on board for using something like that in the future too.
The thing about ashwagandha too, what I've noticed about ashwagandha, and I've just read some literature on it, and the thing about ashwagandha that I've learned as well is it's great for the down regulation, but also at the same time, taking it for long periods of times, sometimes again might mess with like some hormonal health. So, you
Mhm.
know, I think like the side effects, it's great for all these things, but cycle it's best when you cycle these things sometimes, you know.
Yeah, and I mean, I just got the one, the U Theory brand, like from Costco, and maybe I will like once it's depleted, I'll just kind of let it, not be part of like the next purchase for like a month or two, and kind of self-regulate that way because I have read that there could be some effects like that. But I also
Yeah.
want to do if like is that because like if you're using some semi higher dosaging or something along those lines.
Yeah.
So that's just like, I'm just, it's always like tinkering, just not trying to overdo it. That's one
Yeah.
that I have like pulled in and out over time, just because
Yeah.
you just said that's where it can maybe affect that. But um, outside of that, like I said my greens, I do like using a reds powder as well. Just again, something different with flavor, something for focus. I think find that helps with like vasodilation and pump. So I'll
Yeah,
use
yeah.
cranberry.
That beet in there? Does that have beets in there?
It has some beetroot in it. Yeah. So I'll use Organifi Reds. I will use Power, the Synergenics pre-workout. I will then use the cranberry juice, a little bit of dextrose, and like that's like my pre-workout concoction. And man, like the performance there is top notch. I feel like that's like
How do you feel with dextrose as the carbohydrate? Do you feel like any stomach issues or anything like that?
I use literally like 12 to 15 grams of like
Okay.
the actual carb from it. So I'm not loading it as like a massive amount to like get carbs in because I don't have issue eating that many carbs, you know? Um,
Have you ever played with cluster dextrin or highly branched chain cluster dextrin?
yeah. So obviously so the first boss I worked for, that was like the holy grail. Like you're going to use cyclic dextrin for gastric clearance. And, we gave all of our performance athlete that, and
Yeah.
I it from the pathway of like the clearance there, like if there was like a GI issue with dextrose, I'd probably consider using dextrin just to see.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, I don't have an issue with it though, and I'm not
I love
loading a
that.
shit ton. I actually happened to win some first form ignition, which has like some vitamins plus the dextrose in it. So I'm like,
That's
you
awesome.
just let me just tinker, and I already have like
Yeah.
literally the 10-pound container that's like $20 from now.
Let's go.
um,
Oh, yeah. Run with it.
yeah, like, we just it's like that's the fun of it is like, how do I feel? My workouts have felt really good. Well, I'm not gonna change anything, like
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I do have other supplements, but I think we can save for the supplement talk another time. I did want to say I found the word for ashwagandha. It's an adaptogen. It's
Adaptogen, yes.
adaptogen. Basically, you can kind of use it with your ner- nervous system at any time. It really does well because it helps you. Adaptogens, guys, just basically help you handle stress. All right, just helps you handle acute stress, chronic stress.
Yeah.
It basically helps you kind of work with stress, your body in a different way. So that's important. But anything else you want to add there, Marcos? I feel like, man, those top 10 are great. I think we should segment into our next segment to talk
Yeah.
about some of our products, some of our articles, and kind of just the icon of the week. How does that sound?
Sounds good to me. I think we kinda, don't need to
Mhm.
again, like, you could probably create a list of the 20 most necessary things, with our 2 lists, and it's completely individualized, right? Like, obviously you're going to go through phases. I'm in a, low fat red meat phase. And you know what? Like I enjoyed that texture right now, and again,
Yeah.
my wife and my mom were worried. They're like, you're eating what seems like maybe too much red meat. And I was like, like all we do is analyze literature for our jobs. Like it's more of the fat content and total calories that are going to have a negative ramification than
Yeah, and if you look at your blood work, you're like healthy as an ox. Like it's
I do need to get done actually. So we'll put that to the test. But after I lose a little weight, because I'm a little heavy because of the holiday,
yeah. Oh, wait, we'll give it a little run. But real fast, let's talk about product of the week. Marcos and I just
Oh, this
kind
is a
of
good
want to
one.
share my screen here. Let's see. Let's see. Share screen. Let me share this one. Can you see this? Okay. Can you see that? Okay.
Yeah, and like we can see us
Okay.
now. Oh wow, I
I
love it.
see us too. I really like this one. It's the Joseph foldable scale. So, guys, I'm gonna be honest with you. So, we're what, third week into the new year. You're probably listening to this or something like that.
Mhm.
One of the things that if you want to get into like having these great things in the kitchen, we're talking about our food, but you probably have to weigh and measure your food if you're really serious about your goals, whether they're gaining muscle or losing fat. What I love about this foldable scale, this thing is clutch. So my girlfriend has this one. She brought this with us. We had a few trips. We went to New Orleans for a week. We were in New York for a week. Like she brought this thing, and this thing like kind of like saved us because we would do that. And it was funny because we'd go to like cheesecake, and in the middle of our dinner, we'd be like, okay, cut the steak in half, cut the sweet potatoes, and like I don't think anyone's looking, but I bet you if you looked over, like, what are they doing over there? And then box the box the rest of the food. I don't have this one, but I have another foldable scale from Amazon, half the price, works as well. I don't know the exact name of it, but it probably in my orders here somewhere. But
Yeah,
really
I
good.
think you
What?
can just look up foldable food
Yeah,
scale.
foldable food scale.
Folder,
What I
um,
love about it is just the fact that it fits in your pocket, literally like your phone. Just that's the best. Look at that thing. Look at that thing.
I mean, I had one of our coaches years ago when we were at Mastro's pull this bitch out. It was the fun. We're all looking at her. She like had it in her clutch. We're like, "Where did you get a food scale? It's so adorable." And she's like, "It's on Amazon." And back in those days, man, it was $25. Like that's like to give you an example of like how long ago she got it. It's $47 now for the same product because that's the world that we live in. I've purchased probably 5 of these over the years. I've given them as
Wow.
gifts, and people again, like when people are getting into like this, like counting, logging, tracking, like, oh, like I don't have like something portable. You're like, now you do, And this is actually the one that I link in my client handbooks now because I'm like, look, you can use it at home, you can take it with you. You don't have an excuse anymore. Like you might be that person, but like it's better to be known as that person that's getting results than to be like, oh, I wish I would have waited, you know?
Yeah, I'll just be honest with you. It might look weird. It might look weird. And here's one thing it's a little bit of intense attitude, but like people probably like, I can't do that. I can't bring a scale. It's like, I'll be honest with you, that's why you're probably stuck with where you're at. Like, if you just can't do this little thing, like, just want to
Mhm.
call it out. Like, if you can't do this, it's small, it's not conspicuous. It's very just, you're just gonna wait out. No one's gonna say anything. If anything, people are gonna ask you, "Oh, what are you doing?" If they give you a hard time, all right, people joshing you a little bit. But to be quite honest, like, if you're serious about your goals, this like maybe just it might just be for a season. It's not forever, it just might be for a certain season of your life.
Mhm.
This right here would save your butt, and it's been saving mine. I have it in my car. It fits my pocket like my iPhone, and I can go out and eat, and I can still hit my goals. So, guys, if people give you crap, don't worry about it.
No, yeah. I literally like again, it was know your audience, right? We're in a room full of nutrition coaches eating at a fancy meal. And this person was like so invested in their goal that they still brought it out. Again, like and we like she was like kind of like, oh, should I? Like, cause like she was just being a part of the moment, but she still did it. And it made a great conversation piece. And to this day, like I'm like, look, if you can even feel uncomfortable with people that are like all about it, and like obviously the whole point of those nights is like community building and bonding where you shouldn't typically like bust out the scale. She still did. And we're like, good for you. You know what I mean? Like most people will be encouraging of that type of behavior because you're identifying a problem that you've dealt with or you want to just build that knowledge base. And again, too, like you just said, seasons of life. First time you do it, a little awkward, right? people may ask like, "Hey, where'd you get that? That's pretty cool." Right? Like, "Oh, like why are you and or why?" And then you can start educating people as to why you're making these decisions now. And they're like,
Yeah,
"I've already lost." Like, hopefully this is like the next time you do it, you're like, "Oh, I've lost 20 pounds because I've been weighing and measuring, and I want to be able to eat out." So I just wanted to kind of get like, what is an average scoop, that I'm getting from like a Chipotle or something, right?
yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
again, you're just educating yourself and continuing that education process, which is so huge.
100%. And here's another line you can use if people say like, if they give you crap, just let them know, hey guys, look, I'm challenging myself right now. I'm in a bit of a challenge. Like people can respect that. Like, yeah, I'm on a goal, I'm on a challenge, and this is what I'm doing. So definitely love this Joseph scale. Girlfriend's got it. I have the other one. Great investment for $25 now. You're dialed in for there. But our
Nice.
next segment, Marcos, is going to be an article of the week. I don't know if you read this one. You don't need to read this one. It's a little bit outside of the norm.
Well,
So
dense.
just
You put out a
yeah,
study.
it's a dense study. So guys, I'm just gonna just say it out loud. Like I'm a big fan of the UFC. I grew up wrestling. I do jiu-jitsu. I'm a martial artist. I don't like getting I don't like getting hit. I don't like striking people. But the big thing that I want to kind of say here is the importance of there's a performance aspect of health, and there's like an ideal image and stuff like that. And I want to showcase this because we look at these gladiators in the ring, in the octagon, and these guys, if you guys really think about it, are probably, in terms of sports, are probably in the most one of the most dangerous sports, um, because they are fluctuating weight. So for me, I wanted to talk about this real quick, Marcos, if I can kind of just take the floor for a little bit. But this one is basically the study was looking at weight loss and competition weight and Ultimate Fighting Championship UFC athletes. They did this study for about 2 years with some of my favorites, Dr. Corey A. Peacock, Duncan French, which is the head of the UFC PI, Sports and Strength and Conditioning, Gabriel G. Sanders, a study person, Anthony Fauci. He's had multiple degrees and PhDs, and Anthony
Anthony
Ricci. I
Fauci.
apologize, not Fauci. I read that wrong. I apologize, guys. I might get banned on the on the podcast. I'm gonna have to edit that out. Anthony Ricci has multiple degrees in this. Charles Stoll and Jose Antonio. The basically this right here, the sum of the study was they basically showed you by each weight class, okay, each weight class what they were doing. This is a very dense one, but basically how much each weight class was losing in terms of percentage of their body weight. So, for example, you have the 125-pound weight class, 135-pound weight class, 145, 150, so on and so forth. The most interesting thing I found out about this study is the lower weight class, the 125, they were losing the most amount of weight as compared to the percentage. So think about this. The lowest weight class, they were losing about 8 to 11, I think it was like 8 to 9% body weight. So this is water. So they're losing about upwards of like maybe 12, 15 pounds of water before their fight. But then when you look at the weight gain after, so they do the study after, they're gaining 20, 25 pounds of water, which is super, super intense. You're taking such a small person and putting such a load on their body of stress of taking weight off through water and then putting it back on through water. So, um, if you guys look up to people like this, like, yes, they're the elite of the elite, but just remember how dangerous it can be with weight cutting because if we're talking about the macro perspective things, right, Marcos, like people lose weight and it's like, well, that guy lost 30 pounds in one day. It's like, yeah, but he's super dangerous.
Yeah, I think I'm just kind of like combing through it as you were reading it because I wanted to get to like the analysis at the end. Literally 72 hours before the weigh-in, they're losing roughly 6.7% of their body weight. And guys, also too, I think the biggest thing to articulate here is one, that's obviously unhealthy and it's not a sustainable thing. They're in that they like touch that weight for the weigh-in and they immediately start their hydration protocols, whether it's like IV related or they have like a literally like a mixture of whatever it might be, electrolytes and water that can get them back with it. And they've probably done it a few times before because they're professionals with their coach, right? And look at that. They even said that the regain of weight after the weigh-in is upwards of 10%.
Wild. Wild.
Insanity, right? And I also too, this is a water cut, and most people probably know this, but we're gonna say it anyways. What is the what is the largest vessel that stores water in the body, Seamus?
That's gonna be muscle. Muscle.
Muscle, right? Muscle is like 70% water. So literally, if you were to DEXA scan these people, they would look like, you know, very poor, figurehead for the
It's
sport
like a
because
f yeah,
they're tapping into literally kind of parsing away the hydration to the muscle tissue to the extremes
yeah,
to make this weight. But it's also, again, where that recovery protocol to fight, starts to play like immediately after they hit their weight. It is like, again, I mean, we've probably heard this on a few podcasts that are, fighting related. Um, they're like, maybe they should just like weigh them and they can't do it. Like, I mean, Seamus, you've done this before, like 72 hours to like drop that body weight, like within,
I'll
like, is that normal?
yeah.
Is it
So
usually?
this is normal. I've done this. I've coached people through this before. I'll just be real with you. So how my experience with weight cutting guys is it's same day weigh-in.
Mhm,
I've done weigh-ins where I've lost up to 20 pounds almost with the big cut. That was my hardest cut. And guess what? I got injured because of it because there's no water in my joints or my ligaments, nothing like I got hurt in my shoulder, and
mm,
that was an issue for a long time. Um, I condone that not to being not the move. The move was probably something that wouldn't have hurt me, but because I was not hydrated, that move hurt me. And the thing about this is, look, if you're my recommendation, if you're listening to this, if you're a person that wants to get into like hobby jujitsu or just kind of like getting into a little combat sport thing, like if you're gonna do same day weigh-ins, just honestly just hang out in the same weight you're at. Like there is no point, if you need to drop 10 pounds of water weight and then like set up on the scale and then 5 minutes later you're on your match. It's just not gonna happen, you know. If you're not a professional, just don't. Just I would just highly recommend not doing it. And when I coach my people through it, I said the same thing, with your weight, with strength and conditioning camps and like fight camps, this is not fat camp. This is fight camp. Like this is not the time to lose weight. A lot of the athletes that I've coached, like they had to be near the weight. I tell them like if you're going to be in a camp, 3 to 5% like loss over that time, maybe a little cut the night before, and that's it. Because if they're not in the pro level, they don't get a 24, a 48, a 72 hour like rehydration period. It's just not possible.
yeah, and I mean, like when I'm doing CrossFit stuff with my athletes, we're hedging something similar to this. We're not dieting like the week leading up to it though, like and then like doing a massive regain, but like we'll go through kind of a refeeding protocol and up like carb loading essentially to like help them with the actual event, and then deal with like some nutritional timing stuff, to take that thinking off the table. But like again, like I couldn't imagine like, all right, we're just gonna like go sit in the sauna and just sweat it out and get back to it.
Yeah.
This is, yeah, like I've always, I'm like, man, but those dudes are, like again, like you look at them on camera, like like that dude's 175 pounds, no fucking way. And then like, of course, they're actually 20 pounds heavier when
Yeah, they're
that.
like 190, 200. I honestly, the big thing for me, the reason I just put this article up, team, is at the time of this recording, this article came out literally like 3 or 4 days ago,
Mm,
and I just kind of had to share it. It's a big one. The article itself and the way it was done was it had a lot of limitations due to the fact that like this was over a 2 year period with the UFC athletes, and they were just assessing them during their fight week. They're not really assessing them like weeks prior, and understanding their diet. Like this is just a understanding. They were trying to figure out like what's the win to loss ratio or like the win to performance ratio, and they really found that there was like no impact on like if they won better or not, because like that's the thing that the UFC is dealing with at this time is like athletes. I've seen athletes on like there's a video, you can pull it up right now. This girl did such a bad wake up, right, Marcos, that like she gets up on the stage and she's shaking as she's putting her foot on the scale, and then she falls. And then she's like, "Oh, I'm gonna try it again," and then she falls again. And it was like, no, it's just there comes a point where it's like, hey, I really want to make sure that I tell people, look, you got to be healthy. For the folks listening to this, like, why should I care about this article if it's fighting? It's the same thing with weight loss. If you're just a normal person, try not to do it super super fast. Try to be sustainable and be a realistic. And you're not a cage fighter, so you don't have to be at a specific weight at any time. So that was why I wanted to bring this up.
oh man, this is going to be why I chose the next topic of what we're going to talk about next week. Um, because again, like we want to stack up the little things, and we want to know how these habit changes are going to be the thing that ultimately leads to the success of the journey and actually developing a lifestyle worth living.
Yeah.
Versus again, like, oh, initially it's like, I just need to be this weight. And you're like, says who? I know that's a number in your head and you think it's going to work well, but like, again, this is an extreme example of like, we got to make a weight, right? And,
Yeah.
we'll do a bunch of stuff, but like you just said, for most people, our protocols are not supposed to be doing shit like this. It's, yeah.
Way too intense. Anyways, I'm gonna move on to this one. Just a little caveat. Yeah, I'm mixed martial arts fans, but just kind of using that extreme example again, just to kind of showcase the importance of managing weight loss. Next person, this is gonna be our icon of the week. I wanted to do Chris Hemsworth. I know we did a star last week and we did another star, another superhero star this week. I'd say Chris Hemsworth. I don't know. Did you watch Limitless, Marcos? The
Dude, I heard great
Disney.
things. I heard because they went into like they dove into a lot of stuff, didn't they? But I don't spoil it for me. But I've heard good things about
So
Limitless.
So Limitless, without spoiling it, guys, is a really good 6 episode series from Disney National Geographic. Antonovsky, I think is his name, is a great director, and he's had done some movies. But Limitless goes into 6 categories that I'm actually going to practice by the end of the year myself and see how it goes. But the first episode is about stress management. Second episode is contrast therapy, heat and cold. Then the next episode is kind of going into strength. One is about memory, and then the last few episodes are about like accepting death and all these things, about like longevity. So it's like a longevity, but it's all in the science of all this stuff. So what I loved about it was Chris Hemsworth did a great job going through some of the challenges within the show and showcasing. And he just did an interview about a few days ago with Peter Attia, who is a doctor in the field of longevity. I know, Marcos, you're pretty familiar with his work. He has that podcast called The Drive, but basically they had an interview recently, so I wanted to showcase him because even though the show was a while back, this is one of those shows that I highly respect Chris Hemsworth, because you see him as a superhero, you see him as this actor, bigger than life guy, but when you see this documentary series, he's he's a normal guy. He's just like us, dealing with issues of being a parent, dealing with issues of stress, anxiety of just being a person that works, and he gets
Yeah,
really vulnerable in the show, and I really just enjoyed it because of that factor alone. So I just want to shout out to my man Christopher, right here.
yeah, man. Yeah, I think humanizing these bigger than life people, like you know, celebrities, obviously operate on a whole nother level with a lot of things, and I'm gonna assume when you can take out a worry of like financial stressors, right? There are still other things that your mind now has to tap into that are completely new stressors, right? And you
Yeah.
get into some deeper thinking, and they can probably start shedding some light on things that are going on, whether it is, like you just said, stress, memory, exercise, physicality, longevity, like you said, heat cold therapy, all these different things. And it's like, sometimes nowadays I feel like these people, our icons, can be pioneers in other areas. They're like, who are you to talk? And it's like, actually, they're probably the most qualified to do so because they're not worried about what our normal stressors are, you know? And so, like, what
Mhm.
happens if we kind of ascend beyond our current state, right? Like, again, in the rat race, in the 9 to 5 grind, or, working in the capacity that we're trying to do, right? You then start thinking of these other things. And yeah, so I got to go back and download Disney Plus, is what you're telling me.
I'll be honest with you. It's a good watch. I didn't expect to enjoy it as much as I thought I did, and it was a nice surprise to have Peter Attia on the show as part of it. He's like basically like the physician that works with Chris throughout, and the way that the show is done, well, man, it kind of brings a tear to your eye in terms of like how real some things can get with like life, longevity, and the vulnerability of Chris Hemsworth, but also at the same time you get to see like, wow, some of these practices, like I'm gonna stop sharing the screen here for a second, but like basically, I do practice some of the things that the show covers. Like I do contrast therapy, I do some of that kind of stuff, like hot, cold. I play with fasting, which is something that they play with. Um, you know, stress is an everyday thing. Like there's no getting around it. Everyone's gonna have stress in their life, but having techniques to manage stress, because stress is good in a sense when you have like a goal and you have to drive for it. But sometimes, sometimes you act like a manic, driver, like in traffic, like with every stress. And it's like, no, you don't have to. You can take a deep breath and find a way to be a little bit more, um, good with it. So it was a really good show. And I just want to showcase Chris was really great in it. And that's our icon of the week.
Yeah, man. Great. Is there anything else that you want to touch on before we kind of head on out on our third episode here?
No, man, that was a great episode. I think it was a little drawn out with the top 10 things, but I definitely loved those things. And again, that 10 list is different for everyone. This is just kind of what we're seeing in our things. But hey, if you have a top 10 list, comment it, share it, and let's see what you can do with it. Yeah. Anything for you,
Yeah,
Marcos?
I'm gonna tinker with some of the stuff we're experimenting with StreamYard with today. So I'm gonna see if we can't like show a ticker. Oh yeah, like, comment, and
Oh,
subscribe.
there it is. There it is. We're
Like,
getting more technologically advanced, guys.
look at that. Look at that. I'm doing some fucking editing on the fly here. Just
Oh,
having some fun. But yeah, we would really greatly appreciate it if you guys, like, comment, subscribe, give us some feedback. Again, like you just said, it may have been a little drawn out, but you know what actually works best in terms of social media right now are fucking lists and comparisons. And you know what one of the most entertaining things is that I've been watching lately? It's been
what?
the brothers that are like, hey, like they're doing draft picks, the top five, right? And I'm like,
Oh,
I don't
yeah, yeah, yeah.
freaking engaged in this, but it's like, oh yeah, like letter A, like what is top five? So I felt like we might have to come back and revisit this with top fives and do like a quick edit. But um,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, man, this was great. I don't think we did the intro, which we fudged up on, but hey, we're still learning here, so
Yeah, no worries. But this has been the macro perspective, guys. Thanks so much. Comment, like, subscribe, and share with those that you love. And yeah, appreciate y'all. Coach James, Coach Marcos out.